And the story began with Geppetto, an old poor carpenter who lives in a small town. One day, Geppetto seeks to get a log of wood from his fellow carpenter, CILIEGIA. CILIEGIA had this mysterious log of wood that has been moving by itself, and CILIEGIA was quite afraid of this wood. When Geppetto came for the log of wood, he pleaded to have a log of wood. CILIEGIA, who was quite afraid of this log of wood, didn't hesitate to give it to him, and Geppetto gladly received it. Back home, while Geppetto was carving this wood, he realized that the wood was beaten like an heartbeat. He felt the heartbeat of the wood and he couldn't. So he carved the wood in the shape of a human being, and Geppetto started telling the wood to speak, to call BABBO. After a while, voila, the wood spoke and called BABBO. Geppetto was quite afraid, and he realized that the wood was alive and started talking. This made him really happy because he has had no child all his life. So he ran outside to announce to his neighbors that he has a son, and he named this wooden boy Pinocchio, and that was the birth of Pinocchio, or should I say the beginning of his problems. As soon as Pinocchio could walk, he started running around and became disobedient to his father. There was where he met a talking cricket who warned him about being obedient to his Babbo. But Pinocchio refused to listen and decided to sleep beside the fire with his wooden legs in the fire. As a result, the wooden legs got burnt and he couldn't walk anymore. His Babbo came in to save him and he begged for a new pair of legs, which he got on the condition that he must go to school. The next day, Geppetto went ahead to sell his clothes so he could buy books for Pinocchio to go to school. But instead of Pinocchio going to school, he went ahead to join the circus of puppets, a theater where his fellow wooden brothers were. So their boss, MANGIAFUOCO, decided to test Pinocchio to see the kind of puppet that he was. But he discovered that Pinocchio was a good puppet. After testing to put him in fire, Pinocchio begged for his life. And testing to put someone else, Pinocchio also pleaded for the person, saying he should go into the fire instead. Surprised by his act, MANGIAFUOCO, their boss, was amazed and decided to reward Pinocchio with 5 coins to give to his father, who was very poor. Now, will the coins get to Geppetto? Will Geppetto get the coins? During the course of his journey, Pinocchio met 2 thieves. Unknown to him that they were thieves, he met cats and fox, who deceived him that there was a land where they could plant the 5 gold coins that he had, and it would turn to 2,500 gold coins. If they plant 1 gold coin, they could make up to 500 gold coins. Pinocchio believed their lies and followed them. Unknown to him that they were thieves, they planned to kill Pinocchio by hanging him on a tree. During that, a blue fairy came to save Pinocchio and helped him on the condition that he goes back home and return to school. But will Pinocchio still listen again? Upon leaving the fairy's place, Pinocchio met Cat and Fox again. Then they started lying to him that they had been searching for him, where has he been, and all. But Pinocchio still believed that they were friends and still followed them to the field of miracles, where he went ahead to dig the ground and buried the remaining 4 coins that he had. They told him to go get water to water the plants he planted. Oh my god, that was so amazing. Poor Pinocchio ran to the stream to get water, but before he came back, Cat and Fox already took the coins and ran off with the money. Pinocchio was left with no choice but to go home. But on getting home, he couldn't see his Babbo. Geppetto had went ahead searching for him also. So Pinocchio went to the sea where he almost drowned and was once again saved by the fairy. Now, the little fairy had grown up to a full-grown woman. Pinocchio is surprised by that. Now, the fairy once again gave Pinocchio the offer to go to school. If he did, she might probably consider making him a real human. Pinocchio listened and went to school the next day. Getting to school, Pinocchio met Lucigno, who was a very terrible kid and a prankster and very stubborn. Lucigno led Pinocchio outside the school where they went to steal food, and Pinocchio refused to go to school that day. The fairy was really angry about this and didn't allow Pinocchio to sleep in the house that night. The next day, the fairy forgave Pinocchio once again, and Pinocchio went to school. But this very day, Pinocchio met Lucigno, who had refused to come to school for days, and he decided to follow him. Lucigno told Pinocchio about this wonderful land of where kids enjoy fun and sweet and every wonderful goodies without going to school or working. All they just do is sleep and enjoy themselves. Getting there, Pinocchio and Lucigno didn't know that this place was a trap. They have been poisoned, and the old man who took them turned them to a camel and took them to the market to sell them off. What a twist. Now Pinocchio turned from a wooden boy to a camel and has finally been brought. Pinocchio was once again taken to a circus where he was supposed to work as a camel, but he refused to serve that purpose. Now, once again, the fairy saw him in distress as a camel and decided to help him. Meanwhile, Pinocchio was to be thrown into the river because he has refused to be useful for the circus. While thrown in the river, the fairy decided to help him once again and turned him from the camel back to his real wooden self. Once again, Pinocchio was back to his real self. While he was going under water in the river, swimming through the sea, Pinocchio came across a huge fish that swallowed him. Now, inside this big fish, Pinocchio met his Babbo, who has been searching for him for months. His Babbo was already living inside this fish, but Pinocchio made efforts to get his Babbo out of the fish while the fish was asleep, and they escaped the fish, and once again they were together. So Pinocchio and Geppetto once again decided to settle in a small village where Pinocchio started working for GIANGIO as a sheep herder. So once again, Cat and Fox appeared to Pinocchio again, trying to deceive him, but this time around Pinocchio said, "Farewell forever, I'm not falling anymore." He left them and said farewell forever. Now, one day while Pinocchio was walking, the fairy appeared to Pinocchio at his workplace and commended Pinocchio for his big heart and told him she has forgiven him for all his mistakes and errors that he has made so far. Now it is time for Pinocchio to become a real human. The fairy hugged Pinocchio and laid him on the ground. The next minute Pinocchio woke up, he already became a real human, handsome looking young boy. Voila! Pinocchio, a wooden log of wood, now a real human being. Pinocchio, out of excitement, ran home to meet his Babbo, telling him, "Babbo, I have become a boy." Shouting on top of his voice, ran home to meet Geppetto, and that's the story ended happily as they live happily ever after. For more stories like this, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, FKLEF TV, and click on the notification bell. Thank you for watching.